today, what we're talking about is what are called complex fractions. Now, don't get scared of the word complex fraction. A complex fraction basically is nothing more than a fraction in a fraction. So it's something like this. 1/3 over 1/2. That's a fraction. That's a complex fraction. It's a fraction in a fraction. But what you have to realize or remember is, what does a fraction mean? What? Divide. It means divide. So we can simplify a complex fraction just by dividing. This is really 1/3 divided by 1/2. Which is really what?
1/3 times 2 over 1.
1/3 times 2 over 1, which is really 2/3. So 1/3 over 1/2 is really just 2/3. Okay, one. You try this one and see how you do. 2/3 over 3/4. Pause the recording and see how well you do. If you did it correctly, you would have said this is 2/3 divided by 3/4, which you would have turned into 2/3 times 4/3, which is 8/9. How many of you got 8/9? Perfect. Now, sometimes complex fractions aren't always fractions over fractions. For example, here's another type of complex fraction. 14 over 7/9. As long as it's a fraction in a fraction, then it's a complex fraction. So try this one, see what you get when you do this problem here. We'll pause the recording and see how you do. If you did it correctly, you would have said 14 divided by 7/9, which is really 14 times 9/7, and we know that 7 goes into 14 2 times, so we get 18. How many people got 18? Good, okay. Makes it easy. Also use complex fractions to help us solve unit rates. For example, oh, no, don't want to do that. That's what I want to do. Nope, come on. There we go. Stretch that out a little bit. And let's look at this problem. Josiah, I didn't make it up, okay, putting this out of the book, can jog 1 1/3 miles in 1/4 of an hour. Find his average speed in miles per hour. Josiah can jog 1 1/3 miles in 1/4 of an hour. Find his average speed in miles per hour. We'll pause the recording and let you work on that. If I was going to do this, I would have said that this is 1 1/3 miles in 1/4 of an hour. So this becomes 1 1/3 divided by 1/4. But I can't deal with 1 1/3, so this is really 4/3 divided by 1/4, which is really 4/3 times 4 over 1, or 16 thirds. But we all know 16 thirds is 5 1/3, and it is miles per hour. And that labeling is so important when it comes to a word problem because it's asking what the miles per hour is. So you have to make sure you label it. Take a look at this question. Because this one always kind of confuses people. And the reason it confuses people is because they look at it and they're like, but it doesn't make sense all the time. Watch. If I said to you, write 4.5% as a fraction, most people would do this. Most people would look at it and say, oh, well, that's just 9/2%. But that's not right, because that's not a fraction. And it's not a fraction because that percent sign is still there. It's actually still a percent. What does a percent mean? What? Out of 100. So this is really 9/2 out of 100. Or 9/2 divided by 100, which is 9/2 times 1/100th, which is 9 200ths. I want you to do 10 2/3% as a fraction in simplest form. You did this correct. You said that this was 10 2/3 out of 100. 10 2/3 is 32 thirds out of 100, which is 32 thirds divided by 100, or 32 thirds times 1/100th. I noticed that 32 and 100 could each be divided by 4. That's 8 and that's 25. So what I end up with is 8 75ths. How many people got 8 75ths? Good.